Hey y'all, I'm Heather Hendrickson, your host on Heather's Most Precious. I'm a fanatic of family, faith, friendships, and people. My hope is that this podcast puts a sparkle in your day and a smile on your face. Welcome to Heather's Most Precious. Y'all, welcome to another episode of Heather's Most Precious. I am so excited for you to meet my guest today that I just met, a week ago?
A week ago
today.
Yeah.
No, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But how exciting.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Are you pumped to be here?
I am so pumped to be here.
Good. Tell us who you are.
Well, fans, I'm Calvin Claggett, Senior Marketing Manager for Chattanooga FC.
Look at that. That's a big title.
I don't know.
Senior.
I don't know about that. Just making people happy. That's all.
Absolutely. And tell for people that don't understand the CFC, what is that?
Yeah, CFC is Chattanooga's MLS Next Pro team. And so basically we're in the development pipeline to send people, whether it's to the MLS or to clubs all across the world. So there's high-level professional soccer right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
That's amazing.
It is.
And I think just a year ago, right?
Yes.
They moved up.
Absolutely. November 14th will be the 1-year anniversary, and we're excited to celebrate that momentous anniversary.
That's huge. Yeah. That's huge. Now, how long have you been with the CFC?
I've been with CFC since the very end of March, so close to April. Chattanooga is my hometown, and so it's really good to be back and to be a part of the club and what's going on, and looking forward to the future.
Absolutely. Now, you say this is home and you're back home. Where were you?
Oh, gosh. A few stops. So I went off to college to East Tennessee State University. Okay. It was by far an incredible experience. I always tell people, if you have a chance, go visit that campus. Young people or even adults that are trying to decide on post-secondary education. And then I worked there, actually. So I graduated and I worked there in the athletic department doing, marketing, fan experience, ticketing. Cool. I mean, all the things that you can think about that marketing touches. Mm-hmm. So I worked there for close to 6 years, and then I left there and I went up to Connecticut to work at Yale. Was at Yale for a brief period of time, and then left Yale to move to Cincinnati, Ohio, Xavier University. Overseeing still marketing, fan experience, and then got the call to come back. So it's been great. My journey has kind of been all over the place, but. Mm-hmm. But it's made sense, and I think bringing those talents, those skills, resources from where I've been back to the city of Chattanooga has been incredible.
Because I'm sure you picked up different things Absolutely. With each school so that you could make it better the next.
Absolutely.
Do you miss the collegiate experience and kind of being in that?
Yes. It's a special place. I say when you work in college athletics, everything that you do, it's for the student athlete. Like, you directly see the impact, whether it's in the classroom, in their personal lives, and even in the competition aspect of their lives, and so there was a little bit more of a purpose, I would say, to the work that you did, and so I actually college basketball tipped off this week officially, and so I stayed up to watch Xavier play. I watched Yale play, and so. Just trying to keep up with some of the dear friends, coaches that I've worked with in the past, and still cheering on some student athletes that I've had the chance to mentor. So it's pretty cool. UTC actually played one of my student athletes. He from Xavier transferred to USC. Loved him to death, and UTC played USC this week, and so I got a chance to watch the hometown team play against, a young man that I love and care about, very much. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. I love that. So it wasn't just the marketing aspect that you got to be a part of, but again, cultivating these relationships, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're day in and day out with these people, but also the not just the peer relationships, right, with the coaches, but you got to invest
absolutely
in the students. How amazing.
Yeah, I'll always say that the opportunity to learn and grow, become a developer of young people, has been the greatest part of my career. And I think in the college space, the athletic department has such a big deal to do with enrollment, recruitment, retention of not just student athletes, but students across the campus. So you're kind of this front porch of the university. And so a huge part of the student experience. And so it kind of transcended, the athletic department. And so whether it's people that I've just gotten to know because I'm young, personable, and they just could relate to me, and or former interns. One of my interns posted on LinkedIn that he got a job. So he wasn't a student athlete, but he was a student on campus, and he was an intern for me. But I just got my first full-time job, and it's like, and so those stories as your tree kind of develops are pretty awesome.
I love that you just referenced a tree.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's true, and then you have the deeply rooted relationships that your close friends and families, and then you have the branches, which are those, kind of the mentor relationships and the people that come, and you will always have a place for them, but they are not deeply rooted because they are fleeting sometimes.
Absolutely.
Right? And then it's you haven't seen or talked to them, but you get to see them on social media, and you're like, oh my goodness, how exciting, I'm going to celebrate with you. Yeah. And then you have the leaves that are the relationships that were there for a season and then gone for the next as the wind takes them. Absolutely. So look at me. That was a great analogy. Bam! She's got it.
That was good right there. Absolutely.
But I think that's amazing. I think so much of our lives is centered on relationships. Right? In the home, in the workplace, and church, sports, all of the things. And it's so important to not only be yourself, but see who you can be for somebody else.
Correct. Absolutely. And I always used to have this mindset of, when you wake up in the morning, you never know how much somebody may need you, whether it's a stranger or a friend or a colleague or whatever it may be. And there's a level of vulnerability that you have to go into every day with, to let somebody, in, because they may need, whether it's experience that you may have, they may need guidance, mentorship, or even as simple as a hug.
Right.
As a hug, we live in a world where sometimes it's so brass tacks and it's so transactional, and the transformational interactions that I know and love, right, are fading away. So more love in the world, right, is what we need.
Absolutely, yeah. There is such kind of chaos and discord.
Sure.
And you can't thrive in that.
No.
You can't. And I realize a lot of us, when we're in a season that's dark or heavy, we kind of seclude ourselves without realizing it. And then you get upset that people aren't reaching out to you, but you're like, wait, I've put myself in this position. But I think it's amazing that you intentionally look. I'm someone who intentionally looks for the good in everybody, and like how I can help and how I can give and do. And I love that we have the opportunity to choose to not be transactional.
That's it.
Right? This is not a Target checkout. Right? This is, have a good day. Like, no, this is, let's see. And a lot of people may not even talk to you, right? And you have to just make yourself aware by maybe their body language. What are some signs that you see in people who may not verbally say they need help, but you can tell that they need something, whether it's a hug or a conversation?
Sure. I tend to engage in conversations with people, and the immediate thing that I notice is how short they are. Right? If I'm pouring maybe a little bit more into the conversation than they may be, it's how that one, they could just be an introvert, right?
Absolutely.
Or two, if I know them and I know how responsive and engaged they are, in typical normal conversations, whether that's in the home or in the office or around a dinner, whatever it may be, I oftentimes don't ask what's wrong. That's kind of sometimes the worst thing that you can do.
The worst.
And,
are you okay? Cue the tears.
Right. And I think for me, it's always trying to tap in to know what are the things that lift their spirits, that I know that they love, that what can I give to them in that moment that I know is the kind of a spark in their life, right? And so that's also being very intentional about listening to people, learning people. I guess I'll, tell a little bit about, in college, I was a sociology major, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so, and even in the psychology piece of the sociology, like trying to learn how to best engage with people and how people interact with each other and what makes them, the whole thing, right? Kind of geeking out a little bit.
Yeah,
but
do it.
But yeah, my biggest thing is if I know that if I can sense there's something off, I try to bring an experience to their life in that immediate moment that turns that frown upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got bars.
I got a couple bars in there, a couple bars in there.
No, that's awesome. And I think you're right. They're whether it's being intentional about knowing people and getting to learn people and even if it's from afar.
Yeah.
You can see things that are patterns in people.
That's it.
You can learn just by listening.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things, but initially when you said short, I was like, oh, are they do they, are they scrunched over? But then I realized you were saying short in their communication with you. Yeah, I got there eventually. But I think, just using your senses to be aware.
That's it.
Right, and that's when if we're only looking at ourselves all day, we miss an opportunity to love on other people.
That's it.
Right? And you're not even growing because how much more have you grown into the man that you are? Because you have invested in others, learned from others, right? Picked up from them because maybe you saw someone doing something a different way and you're like, oh my goodness, makes it easier.
Absolutely.
Or you had a conversation with someone that shared their story.
Absolutely.
That gave you a perspective that helped you grow.
Absolutely.
Or you've been through a hardship.
Absolutely.
Right? That shaped your character. And I think just so many people, right, especially in the hardships that we're living in now, it's so easy to just look at our problems.
Yeah, it is.
I'm broke, or I'm not happy in the job, or I lost the job, whatever it is. And those are valid. Don't hear me say they're not valid.
Right.
But if you start intentionally looking outward, looking at others, looking at expressions, having conversations, then that also brings joy to you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think, I'm going to drop a few gems that have been given to me. So a wise man once told me, when you enter a conversation with a new person, make sure that you leave a nugget and take a nugget of wisdom or perspective or insight, right? And every time I meet new people, when we met, right? The biggest nugget and wisdom that I took away was like you bring electricity and excitement to life, right? And I don't always have the best days. And truth be told, like the day that we met, it was a lot to do. I had a lot to do that day, right? But then I meet you in this ball of joy and abundance of life. And in that moment, that was the nugget that I needed, right? Turning the page, I've always said to myself that my job is to improve the quality of life for the people around me. Brian Nolan, who's the president of East Tennessee State, he leads that university, with the charge and the mission to improve the quality of life for the people of the region. And as a student, as he kind of became a mentor to guide me, to develop me, he broke it down for me and said, Calvin, your job and your duty is to be a servant and to improve the quality of life for the people in your life and around your life. And I took that, and ever since, he kind of broke it down for me and said, this is what you do. This is how you do it. I've seen that the servant leadership that has emerged, out of me, it's transcended every other priority that I've ever set in the workplace or in the family or whatever the case may be. And so I don't know where I was going with that, honestly.
No, that's amazing.
But you're very right, that we live in this world where it's easier to say, I'm busy, I'm broke, I'm stressed, family isn't good, whatever the case may be. I've always tried to humble myself to say that there is always somebody that may have it worse, and let me reach down and grab and touch, somebody that, and bring them with me. Come on, what can I do for you? How can I help? What resources do you need? Because it's so easy to try to go far by yourself. Whether somebody is above you in any role, rank, whatever, or even if they're below you, but the people that if you come together, you go so much further in life and work and love together with a mighty fist. One last gem. I was talking to a coach that I worked with. She was a women's basketball coach for a period of time when I was at East Tennessee State, and she said, the true quality of a human, it shows the character, right, is determined about, what you can do for those that can't do anything for you.
Yes.
So I hope I got that right, Dr. Ezell.
Giving without the intention of receiving.
Sure, yeah. It's how you treat other people who can't do anything for you. So anyway, life, being a servant first. So.
And allowing, I think too, we've talked about kind of the hardships in life and looking at you, but I've always been very, very aware that in the seasons that if you are only focused on your finances or you're this or you're that, or I'm not where I want to be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, any of those, you are missing the beauty around you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you want to see negative, if you're telling negative things, if you're thinking of that's all you're going to see.
Absolutely.
The world is a dark place.
That's it.
It's raining every day. You're stuck in the shadow. But if you choose to see beauty, if you choose to help somebody, which a little glimmer, right, of spark that hits your heart, if you choose to compliment other people, if you choose, all of that stuff ends up lifting you up. And if you do see someone that maybe has it worse than you, or maybe that you can help, you then realize, oh my goodness, how selfish am I to sit in this position, right? And again, we're not saying that you can't sit for a minute and cry in the corner, but don't stay there, y'all.
Right.
That is a Motel 6 place. That is a great place to take a nap, but we are not living there. So we're going to pack up and move on, okay? And I think talking about how it shapes your character and how your character is seen in that, helping kind of others who are either unable, or just your intention is I'm giving because I want to, and this is my pure heart. My heart posture is in the right position. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely,
it's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. I think you mentioned the Motel 6. That's a dark place to be dormant, right? I challenge people all the time, get yourself mentally to the Ritz-Carlton, right? Right. That's the sunshine, the resort, all the different, it's fancy. And wake up every day and win, win the day. An old friend of mine used to say, have a day, win the day. And sometimes winning the day is just doing a good deed. My grandmother used to tell me, Calvin, make sure you do one good deed a day. It's kind of crazy. You tell me that when I'm little, right? And it's like
doesn't make sense.
You do small little, and you start to kind of, as you develop, you understand why. And I think because when you do it, it brings that cheer, that joy, and you don't do it, for the gratitude or the recognition or anything like that. But it's the right thing to do, and when you do the right thing, it's kind of crazy how other doors open and things fall into place. So
they do, and it shifts your perspective.
It shifts everything.
Right? We're not looking at things the same, right?
Sure.
Those sunglasses that we were wearing, that blur, we're not wearing those.
Sure.
And I think, such powerful. Win the day. Gosh.
Win the day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Win the day.
I think we are not capable of giving ourselves the same piece of joy and happiness that helping others gives us.
For sure.
Even complimenting someone.
Yeah.
Like I love people, and my family always gets mad. She's like, "Why are you talking to everybody?" I'm like, "Because I'm making friends." And telling someone like, "Hey, that dress looks fabulous on you," or "Hey, I love this. That's your color, girl. It's green." And because I know how much it means to me.
Sure.
So if I see it, I want to say it. Who knows if she got a haircut and her husband hasn't noticed and it's been 2 weeks, right? There's so much beauty in that. And again, we miss an opportunity if we don't just say it.
Absolutely.
Right? And then am I saying it so they'll be like, "Hey, you're pretty too"? Like, no. I'm saying it because it's true and you need to hear it. And again, it's the heart posture.
That's it.
But it brings me so much happiness because I know, right, that they are going to have a better day because of that.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about winning the day and doing the good deeds, but I also think that so many of us can have a day, and maybe you say we're going to win the day, and then at 10:30 a.m. you get a bad client phone call or someone comes in and they are negative and nasty and they curse you out for 45 minutes or whatever. And now you're like, "Oh my gosh, today is terrible." It's like Alexander, no good, terrible, you're a bad day or whatever. And I challenge us to look at that. Absolutely. That is not a bad day. That was a bad 45 minutes of your day. You can still turn your day around. You can still win the day, right?
Absolutely.
And again, maybe they did curse you out, but how did you respond to that?
Absolutely.
Because you're in control of your response. You're not in control of theirs.
That's it.
So how did you handle it? Did you handle that well? Okay, you're winning, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And again, just the perspective.
Absolutely. Bad days, don't happen. Just bad moments do.
Absolutely.
Just bad moments do.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, maybe that bad moment may, in our minds overshadow everything that all the good that may have happened in that one day. But, emotions are temporary. And
for sure.
that's one thing that I've personally had to learn and grow. And I it's funny. Our CEO at CFC, he told me, he said, "Calvin, you can't hide your emotions well." And so, I've tried to grow even, when I was younger to now to know that emotions are temporary. It's okay to feel them when they come. Right. And you need to feel them and get through them, and learning how to get through them is a powerful tool. But just to know that it's just a small window in the grand scheme of the timeline. So,
absolutely. And you do need to learn how to cope with feelings that are big.
Absolutely.
I'm someone that feels things really, so deeply. And
you
I feel
cry during movies too?
Oh, stop, yes.
Oh, I cry.
Someone
I cry.
Someone can hand me a postcard and I cry. I cry when I'm happy and sad and angry and excited and all of it.
Absolutely.
But I think it's a beautiful thing that we feel so deeply, but it's also almost a curse.
It is.
Yeah, we can't hide, and we are affected when other people hurt and things like that. But I would say big emotions and what that looks like. And I think it is a beautiful thing because we get to help people in a certain way.
Absolutely.
But if you put those emotions aside, growing up, I was told that I was dramatic and that, all of these things that made it negative.
Right.
My emotions were I felt like they were negative because they were affecting other people, right? So you start to try to push those like, "Oh, I can't feel that." Well, then what does that do, right?
Right.
And so I would tell people, if you are like us with these huge emotions, figure out how to deal with them. I'm now someone who has thankfully learned how to deal with them. So when something happens, I need about an hour. If it's bad, I need about an hour or two just to be mad. I just want to be mad at it, and it's okay. I'm gonna hold it in my hand for a minute, and you're my little pet, and I'm so mad right now. But then at that time, I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Right.
I can then push it aside. But if you are constantly throwing your feelings to the side or burying them inside, they are going to come to haunt you.
They do, and
they're going to explode, and it's going to be nasty.
Absolutely,
it's going to be nasty.
I've always tried to tell peers, mentees, when, and particularly dealing in the space of sports, right? Coaches are hard. School is hard. The biggest thing, it's okay to feel these emotions. Never bury them.
Right.
With whatever way that they can turn it into fuel, or that they can turn it into motivation. And so that looks different for everybody, right? But, you know, being a sports administrator, you know, oftentimes you get athletes, you know, that are like, you know, I'm not playing as much. Coach is really hard on me. Coach said this. Coach did this. Or like all of the different things, right? They're dealing with, you know, their family coming at. I'm a Switzerland party, right? I'm neutral. At the end of the day, I have the kids' best interest at heart. I'm not saying that those other parties don't, but they're very biased, right? I just have the kids' best interest at heart. Yeah. And so when they come with these grievances or these frustrations and these emotions that they're harboring, and that they you're right, they've said that, like, I've pushed all this aside for so long, I'm ready to explode. So I let them get everything out, right? And it's even in my personal life, right? I try to get everything out.
Of course.
And then it's like, okay, what can I do to use that as fire, fuel, motivation?
That's great.
And so you kind of reposition and rechannel. Yeah. And I think that's the lesson that I've always tried to teach is reposition and rechannel. So
and find a purpose.
I
think that's huge.
Yeah. And even if it's that purpose is not in necessarily your everyday do, like going to practice, or for me, like waking up, building a marketing plan, right? Running a marketing, all those things. Like you mentioned purpose. Yeah. So when you identify your purpose, that leads you to your passion, right? And then, you know, when you take your passion, that drives everything you do. Or it can be a segment and sector of your life. And we have to all work. We all have to make money. So whatever the case may be, but, you know, purpose to passion, you know, then position.
Absolutely.
So position. Yeah.
The 3 Ps.
I
love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're talking about, of course, getting it out. That's the one step.
Sure.
If you're someone who, and we're going to speak directly to the listeners at this point, that is dealing with heavy emotions, you're super empathetic, you feel deeply, whether it's at you or whether it's directed at someone else or they bring it to you, you have to get it out, getting it out. Find someone, or I have 3 people that are my safe people, right?
Absolutely.
They give me each a different perspective. My best friend loves me, so she's going to fight with me. And she's going to be on my side anyway, right? She's going to hear it the same way I did. Like, ooh, that's a threat. And then I have my daddy, who is my person, and he is able to, he gets me in a way that nobody else does. We're just very connected. And so it's very easy for him to see outside of the box and gently be able to turn me around so I can see all the positions. And I've got my amazing husband who I unload on him, and poor guy, he's like, please take it anywhere else. No. But hearing his perspective is also helpful because he also sees it from a different angle. And so I love that I have, you know, the people that I can trust to unload with. And once it's unloaded, it doesn't feel as heavy, right? It's not weighing you down. Sure. And then you're able to process it. I'm a talk processor, so I have my 3 people. Yeah. Once I talk to all 3, I'm done. I've been able to process it, I'm done. So you've just got to find someone that you can have as a confidant that's going to have your back. Absolutely. And then, you know, and whether it's a coach, whether it's a friend, whether it's a parent, whether it's, I don't know, accountability partner, anybody.
Sure.
And if you don't have someone safe, I would say try to look for one. Try to build a relationship with someone that maybe you have something in common with and can help come alongside, even a counselor, right? Therapy is a beautiful thing, but get it out or find a way to rechannel it, whether that's sports, whether it's working out, whether it is finding a new passion and being able to, okay, I'm going to use this frustration as a motivation to get me there faster, right? And I think those are beautiful things, but don't sit in it.
Never sit in it. You mentioned accountability,
of course.
You know, partners, and you know, I think that's the people around you are the most important, you know, who your circle is. Yeah. You know, they're the most important, I would say, factors in your life. You know, I use this term sometimes, outgrowing people, leaving people behind, whether it's like, they enable the bad things, in your life, or poor choices, or maybe they aren't that safe haven, safe space. And so for all the listeners, your circle is the most powerful thing. And, who, even in the professional, like who you work for, is a huge, I particularly when I look at jobs, right? I look at people who are great developers of humans, people that are certainly transformational and servant in their leadership roles, and accountable, right? And so a guy that I worked for once upon a time, I used to call him Superman.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was Superman, and even to this day, he's still Superman in my eyes. Just a great human.
Awesome.
Dr. Matt, if you're out there, it's a big shout out to you, man. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. You're explaining his characteristics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my team's going to be like, that's Heather Hendrickson.
Yeah.
She's so great. But I think that's important.
Sure.
And I mean, there are people, whether you are going for your new job, your first job, or our world has now turned to where, before you went to college and you got in a career and you couldn't move. Like that was it. You made your decision.
Yeah.
The world has realized it's okay.
Absolutely.
If you are not happy in your role, it's okay to navigate.
Yeah.
It's never too late to start over.
Absolutely.
It's never too late. And there's such beauty in that.
Absolutely. And I think some people get anxiety about leaving jobs.
Of course,
right?
they do.
And, I think that, for those listening, right, if you're struggling in your career or whatever the case may be, always leave a job, gracefully, right,
Yes,
respectfully.
always.
But what may not be a good fit for you in the current role, right, there may be another role, another organization that perfectly aligns with your skill set, your morals, your values, your work at whatever it may be. It's find that niche for you. And I've always been the type of person that has always said that, you have to feel that peace and serenity, because you want to be the best, at what you do day in, day out. You want to make sure that if you're happy in what you do and you feel the passion and the purpose of what you do, right, then your position in what you do.
I love that.
You go so much further. Yeah,
you do.
You go so much harder for the responsibilities and tasks that the job sets.
And you're talking about leaving a job,
Yeah.
And doing that gracefully, y'all. There is not a manager, an agency owner, a coach. There's not one person that doesn't want to help you succeed.
That's it.
But when you choose to just leave without having a conversation, that doesn't help anybody, and it actually burns bridges.
That's it.
So if you are someone who is looking to leave, have a conversation. I'll tell you, if someone wanted to leave where my work is, which would never happen because I'm perfect. But no, if someone wanted to, I want to have a conversation because I want you to be happy. I want to be a piece of your journey, a stepping stone. I just want to be a piece of it.
Yeah.
So whether it turns into forever, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Absolutely. I want to help you while I can. So let's talk. What don't you like? Because could it be a change in the company?
That's it. Can it be a repositioning? Yeah.
Or is it something that we need to find you a new job? Maybe I have connections and can help you get that. Or maybe you can still work here and get your hours and still, hey, you need to take time off to go, okay, do it.
Absolutely.
But there has to be transparency and there has to be communication, right? Because miscommunication is the failure of everything. Any relationship breaks because of that. So choose to leave with excellence. Choose to have the conversation. I know it's scary. Yeah. I know there's sometimes it took me a while. So but there is an intimidation factor with the term boss or CEO or whatever.
Yeah.
Do not let that deter you.
Yeah.
From having a conversation, because it's so important.
Absolutely.
Because who knows what could happen.
That's it. And, I'll say early in my career, I was guilty of that, right? Yeah. And I think there's a few reasons why. Disappointment. I didn't want anybody to be disappointed in me.
Absolutely.
I was scared, nervous, right? And so early on in my career, and I shouted out Dr. Matt a little while ago, the biggest thing that he said, Calvin, you are mine. I will keep you, and that means whether you work for me or even, and that's why I still say to this day, he's still Superman in my eyes. Yeah. And he said, you'll be kept in my heart, wherever you go, whatever you want to do. And I have used this line with anybody that's ever worked for me. I am going to always be your agent. Mm. And if you work your tail off, you bust your butt for me, you bet your bottom dollar if somebody comes calling, right? Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to do everything I can to keep you, right? If you and your heart want to go, right, I will help you to get anywhere that you want to go. As long as you've communicated to me, been open. And so Dr. Matt and Scott, they taught me those lessons early on in my career. And just everything that you just mentioned is true, and so whether it's connections that now, like I said, I come from a tree as well.
Of course.
I come from a tree as well. And so my tree has always tried to help me. And then, the tree that I come from has always tried to help me. And then, my tree that I am and all of my branches and leaves, I've helped them, tremendously along the way. So
I love that.
It's family. And I think, I will always be an employer that says, work is family. Family always. Sometimes hard, tough conversations, and sometimes it's fun, like a family reunion and a cookout, right? And so, but try not to be like transactional versus transformational. Transformational all the way. Absolutely. All the way.
And I think that what you said about Dr. Matt, holy cow, I want to meet him. Like it's amazing. I will keep you, right? Relationships are not contingent on your position with a company.
That's it.
And when you fear that they are, that's when trouble comes. Yeah. If someone is investing in you, if I invest all of my knowledge, my team now, they'll email back like, thanks for sharing your knowledge with me. And I love that because that's what it is. It's a knowledge gift. I have this built up, and I do, it's easy to make our jobs look easy when we've been in them and we've had experience. Yeah. We're not trying to, it just happens because I'm not like thinking, oh, look at all that I can do. I don't even look at it that way. Yeah. But it's amazing when something helps. But our role is always to give and invest. And if I've invested in someone, not only do I want them to trust me and respect me, I want them to be open, right? Because it's the only way that we can grow.
Absolutely.
The only way that we can grow. And again, not just growing individually, but together. That's it. And that's so it's so crucial. Did your childhood play any role in I guess kind of where you are today and the lessons that you've learned?
Sure. I'll say my childhood, I grew up very less fortunate. Had a great mom who did everything she could for me and my brother. Was kind of, that rock and stability and kind of a broken home. But I look at how I am now, the achiever, I'm so ambitious. And I think it's because, I don't want to ever be in the situation, or, my future wife, kids. I never want for them to want for anything.
Of course.
My mom is a saint and an angel, and that level of work ethic was instilled in me through her. And so I've always tried to make sure that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to try to be the best at it. And so that's been, that's kind of been why I've tried to be so ambitious in my career, so achieve as much as I can, as fast as I can. Like,
I go getter.
I want to be the best, and I'm so competitive. Like, okay.
I didn't even realize it until, I don't know. I mean, it was probably been 10 years now, but I called my daddy and I was like, I think I'm competitive. He was like, I mean, you're just now realizing it? I was like, oh, had no idea. No idea, but no, I do. And I'm a perfectionist.
That's it.
And I hate that because I'm like, oh, I want to do things well and I want to do things right. And then I have that fear of failing to do it right.
That's it.
And then it's like, oh my gosh, your body stops. And you're like, why can't I do this?
Absolutely.
And it's crazy. And you sound like kind of the anxious achiever too in that way.
That's it.
Right?
I've always had this deep fear of failure. Mm-hmm. And in a way, it's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
Right? It keeps me up at night, at times, because I'm always looking for what's the next thing,
Of
right?
course.
So that level of like being still, and enjoying where you are in the moment, and so on and so forth hasn't always been there. And so I try my best now to be still, enjoy the moment, enjoy the position, enjoy the experience, so on and so forth. But the hunger inside of me, right? And I think it's been a long journey, I would say, to overcome some of the childhood.
Yeah, of course.
And so as I've grown, and like that beast has kind of become tame, but for right now, it's kind of like all gas, no brakes in a way. All gas, no brakes. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, born and raised here in Chattanooga. Literally a kid from East Chattanooga, makes his way to the Ivy League, works in the Ivy League, works in the Big East. Like,
you've done so many big things.
And like, it's kind of like I do it as a notch, like but a chip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have all these resources. I didn't have, I had a very supportive mother, but like I owe it to her too, to go as far as I possibly can. Like, and I guess sometimes that is the bit of the transactional part about me. But
I mean, I get it, right?
Yeah.
You do, and it does. There's a lot of childhood trauma that comes with the perfectionist and with the competition, that competitiveness, and the beast does rear its ugly head sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
And then we got to tame it back down. And of course, it's nothing against. I have a fantastic family. My mom and daddy are fantastic.
Right.
But there is still things that happen, right?
Absolutely.
Not necessarily just in the home, right? You
Sure.
have things at school and with your relationships and from teachers. And
Absolutely.
all of the things that you have experienced.
That's it. And
all those things.
I'll say, elementary, middle school, CSLA.
Oh yeah, great.
CSLA, I would say, was one of the best school environments. I mean, I'm talking even through, like, I give my shout outs to, some of my teachers at CSLA, because I think that in some ways they could sense, like, this kid is a little bit different. He may be a little rough around the edges, but there's something there.
Saw your potential.
That's it. Yeah. So made a lot of mistakes growing up. Young, dumb, but yeah, CSLA, and I ended up graduating from East Hamilton.
Oh, that's great.
Around the time the school first opened.
Okay.
I would say, if Pam Dantzler is out there, principal, she had an amazing, faculty and staff.
So great.
Gerald Jones and that staff was very instrumental in my life.
Wow.
Ted Gatewood. These are all, people that were just kind of just around that,
They invested. They saw
sure.
you.
Yeah.
How special does it feel to be seen?
Yeah.
Right? Especially when you've gone through things.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think when I go through CFC, we do a lot of stuff in Hamilton County schools. And I think even if it's the 5-minute conversations that I may have with, like, I was in Tyner Academy, I was in Tyner Academy last week, the middle school.
Oh, yeah.
And that 5 minutes I spend with a kid, right? You know, come and find out the kid plays in literally in our academy, CFC Academy. So our youth academy serves about 800 or so youth.
Fantastic.
You know, from kind of like U9 to U18, right? And we got some kids at the time, and I'm literally talking to this kid, and I'm like, dude, like, yeah, you're destined for greatness, like, because that was the same. The 5 minutes of time I give that was the same 5 minutes that some of my teachers would give to me. You just got to straighten up a little bit, you know. They say you got to straighten up a little. Yeah, you got to straighten up a little bit, but you know, you say you're gonna be all right. Yeah.
It's huge, and I hope educators know. I mean, I think they know, but sometimes they're in it too long to actually feel it, right? And when you're not thanked, or when you're worked too hard, or too much paperwork, not enough teaching,
right?
Micromanaging, all of the things that could go on. But at the end of the day, like, I want educators to remember, like, you can make or break some child.
Absolutely.
If you always mean mug them, if you always treat them like they're the problem, if you send them out of your class, like, you're missing an opportunity. They are just looking for connection. That's it. I mean, a lot of the kids that are acting out, either they're not getting love in the home, or they're not getting attention. Any attention is getting attention. And I know it's hard for the teacher because you've got 25 other kids that want to participate, and you've got the one, but sometimes it takes a 5-minute conversation out of your day. You have 7 hours with these kids. 5 minutes would not be a big deal. Right. Take them home and give them a hug. Let them know that they're still loved, even though they made a bad choice.
Absolutely.
I think, I know that would change not only their life, but it would help the other kids see how to then handle situations that are difficult. And sometimes we miss opportunities, or we don't see kids. We see them as the problem. Yeah. Instead of seeing, like, no, there is a deeper problem here. They need help.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, educators, if there's any educators listening, I first want to say thank you. Absolutely. I think that the work that you do is you know, oftentimes thankless. I think you know, I think that we've come to so many crossroads, you know, in how the education system, you know, is today, that, you know, need to be addressed. But I want to say that you're worth it, and that you are the shining light and star. You know, exactly how you mentioned. Like, don't skip that potential life-changing moment with a kid because they may be a little rough around the edges. I'm here to say that I was. I'm here to say I was beyond mischievous. But I'm proud to say that because of the educators that didn't quit, because of the educators that said, no, don't do that, do this, don't go left, go right. Even when it was like constantly having to recorrect,
they were consistent.
Be consistent, be front, because at some point there's going to be a breakthrough.
There will be.
And I'm here to say, you know, on behalf of anybody that's come from the shoes that I've walked in, right? Like, I'm the same kid from East Chattanooga, the same kid that has gone on to work in the Ivy League, the same kid that has returned back to his hometown to give the talent, the resources, and all of the, like, there is purpose that you have in the work that you do. And, you know, Chattanooga Football Club is incredibly passionate about the work in Hamilton County schools. And so we are excited to partner with anybody, and whether it's mentorship or camps, clinics, whatever it may be, resources.
Absolutely.
The club is here. We're a community club, and we are here for you. So
I love that y'all are so inclusive.
That's it.
Because it's huge, right?
Yeah, it is.
And that's what we needed.
That's it, yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people know how much the CFC does.
No.
You know, we think of it as just the leagues, the men's and women's.
Yeah.
We don't think about the 800 children that y'all have in youth leagues. Yeah. We don't think about the programs that you're doing, which we're actually going to talk to you about one for East Brainerd Elementary this year. Okay. But how neat that is. So if y'all are in Hamilton County and you have a connection to a school and you would like to partner with TFC, or you have a conversation about, hey, what would this look like for our kids? Could this be beneficial? Sure. A clinic, an evening, an engagement night, what would that look like? Definitely reach out to them and see what kind of what that is. I know I know that they love to pour out and would love for you to be the recipient of that and for your kids to grow with the knowledge that they have. So bringing it back to athletics, Calvin, I know that you've had your hand in so many. I know you've dealt with parents that are really hard on their kids. I know we see that even now. I know, I mean, my husband's been judged because he's not. Like when he coached, he was like, let's just learn the fundamentals of baseball or whatever. Let's just hang out. And my older son, Laker, is a freshman in high school, made the basketball and the baseball team, loves baseball's number one, loves basketball, can play any sport, and it's annoying because he's just naturally athletic and he's brilliant, and that's not fair. But and for the parents, what would you tell the parents who are maybe trying to ride their kid into some big professional league, or are maybe not supporting them? What would you say to them?
Sure. The biggest piece of advice that I would so there's two. I'll give two pieces of advice for parents. Number one is just to empower the hard work and the work ethic and so on and so forth. You know, I will say this, you know, to play at, you know, the Division I level, right? Well, to play college sports, period, is there's a very small fraction of high school students that go on to play at the collegiate level. Right. And then there's a drastically smaller, you know, percentage of those students who then make it to the professional level, right? So the number one piece of advice is to empower the work ethic that will get them there.
Okay.
Because when I say work ethic, it's not just, you know, practice, workouts, nutrition, diet, the whole, like that's a part of it. But sometimes, you know, you may have to help the kid, you know, communicate to coaches, right? Get their film out there, because trust me, unless you're playing in some of the big, whether it's EYBL, talking about basketball, EYBL, you know, Under Armour, whatever, some of the big circuits, or even on soccer, MLS Next, you know what I mean? ECNL. So you may not get noticed, right? So there's a little bit of work ethic that needs to come along with the kid to send their tape, you know, to as many coaches as possible. And some coaches may never ever open it, but some may open it and say, "Oh, this kid may be legit." Academics, work ethic in the classroom, right? Academics have to be key because in some sports, right, baseball is a prime example. You know, you may not get a full scholarship, right? You know, there's a high chance that you will be on a small partial. Then you're paying for, you know, so if you have the academics, then, you know, whatever.
Stack those.
Absolutely. Whatever academic scholarships you get, stack on, and then mom and dad don't have to pay for school. The second piece of advice that I would give would be, don't be that parent that is, you know, emailing the coach, or don't be that parent that is, why isn't my kid playing? Or, you know, you kind of got to, you know, step off a little bit. And particularly if your kid is getting recruited, coaches at the collegiate level, they understand that they're recruiting the whole family, right? And so don't sometimes let the reputation of the family, so if they call your coach or the people around and say, you know, mom and dad are a nightmare to deal with,
you might rob your kid an opportunity.
That's it. So empower and instill great work ethic, and that's academics, that's strength conditioning, that's you know, your technical training, skill training, skill development,
diet, nutrition.
Yeah. And I'll say this, you know, a lot of parents don't know, you know, necessarily, like, and it's okay to reach out to people to college coaches that ask that, you know, like, hey, like, in case they don't know or haven't gone through it themselves or seen it, like, what does it look like? What is your strength conditioning, routine look. So you start to get them on that type of, what does your diet look like? What does your nutrition look like, right?
So the regime is now.
The regime, yeah, absolutely. So
that's awesome.
And then just kind of, I'll say, don't be that parent.
Absolutely.
Don't be that parent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think that's great. What I took from that is empower your kid.
That's it.
Right? Be a helpmate. Support them.
Yep.
Don't yell at them during games.
Yeah, and if they don't want it, then let them be let them play because they want to play with their buddies, right? If they don't want to go to that next level, but they want to go to college,
that's okay.
That's okay. It's okay.
Because so many kids in high school, I mean, I know it happens about 13.
Sure.
Where a lot of kids just, change or break away. And then it happens again in high school. You're right. So if you go, my husband and I, Nick, have, we're there to support and cheer on. I've put my glitter posters away. But, and I love that my husband doesn't, he's not a talker anyway, but he waits until, we get home. And then if Laker starts a conversation with him, then he'll engage and say, hey, what about this play? Or what about that? But never makes him feel bad for something he's missed. But he knows him and he's just waiting for the conversation. But I love that they can talk about that.
Absolutely.
In a way, but he gives him time to relax. And we know not to talk to him on the way home from a bad game.
That's it.
We just wait until we get home. But also, if your kid is not a talker, doesn't want to, what you can do as a parent is just have the healthy food in the house, have the protein, have the things. There's so many different ways that you can support your kid that's not just talking.
That's it.
And it's not just yelling. And there are so many parents that work so hard, maybe work 2 or 3 jobs and don't get to go to games.
Right.
Listener, if that's you, you are still a good parent.
Absolutely.
You're a great mom. You are a great mom. You're loving them. You are washing their clothes. You are working hard to support them and their sport.
Absolutely.
And if you're a dad and you're doing the same thing, good on you, Mr. Mom. You're doing it all. Be proud. Be proud. And know that the beauty of sports is you have a family.
That's it.
You have the coach who is another authoritative figure that your kids will not listen to you, but guess who they listen to? The coach, even if they tell them the same exact thing. Not that it's happened to me or anything. But this is a great thing, right? Let the coach your kid.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. Coaches are going to criticize. They need that.
Absolutely.
Kids need to build up this tough exterior and be able to handle hardship, right?
That's it. Handle hard coaching.
Get through and be able to cope. They need to know what it's like to sit on the bench without you complaining about it.
Right.
Because if you set the tone for your kid, if they hear negative conversations with you and whoever at home or you and the athlete,
that's it.
They are naturally going to be on, oh my goodness, now their world is shaded, now they're mad at the coach. And gosh, it goes and goes and goes, right? And I love what you said about let the coach coach.
Let the coach coach.
It's his job. He knows what he's doing.
Sure.
Now, if there's an issue, absolutely there are appropriate ways to talk to him, but your kid doesn't want you to interrupt the game. Your kid doesn't want you to go behind his back. He's earning his place. He knows that that's a piece of it. And I love that. And now you've talked about the collegiate level and kind of things. These are things that you can do to get ready for that. If the opportunity allows, are there steps for athletes that you would tell them, say that they are doing all of the things, right? They have a good regimen. They're all doing all this stuff, but they're ready for the collegiate level, or they think they are. They're interested in that. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them immediately. Start sending out any film that you have. If you're not getting recruited, start banging on doors. Right. It's okay. It's okay to bang on doors. Go to as many exposure camps that you can.
Okay.
That is probably if you aren't getting any looks, right, sometimes you have to provide yourself that opportunity, right? And sometimes it's costly. Sometimes, I think, heck, it might have even been like Pat McAfee or something like that. Like he grew up in West Virginia, was really poor. I think he might have gambled some money to get the money to go to a kicking camp, right? And he had some maybe D2 or small school offer, right? And went to this kicking camp, crushed it, and then I think he ends up going to West Virginia, right? And then went to the NFL. So it's
it's worth the investment.
Bet on yourself. That is it. You got to bet on yourself, right? I'm not telling anybody to go gamble, but bet on yourself, create the opportunities for yourself.
Right.
That's a part of the grind, the work ethic. And then when you get there, make sure nobody, if you get a walk-on position, two things. Make sure your grades are right.
Yep.
Because it's easy to kick a walk-on off the team.
Okay.
Make sure your grades are right, and make sure that nobody outworks you. You be the first one in the gym. You show up to lift early. You do everything. You be nice to the equipment staff, right? People who may be doing your game laundry or whatever. Like, you be the most superb kid and the prime example, because you never know, a coach may come in the locker room one day, huddle everybody around, and put you on full scholarship.
It's amazing.
Yep.
And there's so many opportunities.
That's it.
So be the best version of yourself that you can be.
That's it.
I love that. And I love that you've been able to offer such encouragement today. I've loved our conversation just in general. It's been so enlightening, and I love that we are basically the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And just the ways that we've been able to help listeners with certain situations, or maybe, if we're learning to deal with feelings, what we can do. If we are a parent of an athlete, if you are the athlete, I think those are amazing things. Now, one last thing I wanted to ask, I know you're talking about sending in tapes, all that stuff. Do you think that sharing that stuff on social media is so big right now?
Sure.
Do you think sharing clips on social media is also helpful, or do you think that is not as good as sending in film?
I think it doesn't hurt, right? I think, social media is, way more accessible for college coaches to look at kids. It's easier without it being it's less formal, right? They can literally go on a kid's Twitter and, they can look and see, okay, and then they can dive deeper if they feel, comfortable, right? I would say put your stuff out there, market yourself. I mean, your social media is your marketing tool. So make sure it's clean. I would say this. Make sure be careful what you're posting. But share your highlights. You can tag coaches. You can, you do it.
That's great.
Or send them DMs. Like I said, chances are they may not open it, right?
But they could.
But they could, and some do, and and it's like, okay, well, you know what? Like, they may send an assistant coach or something like that, just to subliminally, check you out, particularly if you're regional, if you're somewhere in the region of the school.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's real easy to carve out an evening to just go, stand somewhere in the corner and look at a kid. I've seen that. I've known it to happen. And it's like, maybe we need to put him on our big, massive whiteboard that has a list of names.
Yeah.
Maybe you could find yourself on that whiteboard someday. So, like I said, nothing's off limits, but go to camps, get these workouts in with coaches, ask assistant coaches or whoever is low on the totem pole, hey, can you work me out? And if you get an individual workout with an assistant coach or a GA or something like that, and you're able to then say, hey, can you? Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, little nuggets right there.
Of course. Well, a lot of nuggets. This whole conversation has been great.
Yeah.
I love that. Calvin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Really a true joy. I hope you know that. You are you just exude joy.
Thank you.
And your confidence is something to be acknowledged and admired. And look at how far you've come, right? So many people look forward and are sad that they're not where they want to be. But when you turn around and see how far you've come, man, it's a beautiful thing. And then all of a sudden it's empowering. So I hope you do that often. You should be proud.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah. And I would love to know, in true fashion, what does Calvin find most precious?
Ooh. Man. Wow, that's a good question. Okay. So I'll go ahead and say what I find most precious are experiences. I think experiences of life. So whether that's concert, I love music.
Yes.
All genres, right? So I love going to concerts. Someday I may get out of working in sports, so I'll be able to enjoy it as a fan. But even, for teams that I don't work for, if I go see, like, I love those experiences with people too. Like, so whether it's my girlfriend, who I love her so much, you know, she's my best friend, we go do everything together. Or it's, you know, going to meet new people. Because sometimes when I go to other sports venues or I go to concert venues, you know, I may send a note ahead of time, say, hey, I'm coming, I work in sports, you know, or I work in event and entertainment, you know, would love to, you know, catch up with you before or after. And that just expands your network. But experiences to the T exhilarate me. I would say that. Yeah.
I think that's huge, and I think that's the first time anyone's ever said that. Yeah. And it's brilliant because it does encompass everything.
Sure.
Family, friends, concerts, which we love concerts too. Yeah. Just everything. And I love that they then turn into memories that you get to hold on to.
That's it. And
it's amazing.
Live life to the fullest is you know, I mentioned experiences. Take that trip if you can. Go eat at that restaurant if you can. Go to that concert if you can. Live life with no regret.
Of course. I love that. Calvin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Goodness, it's a joy. And if y'all are either local in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or y'all are coming to visit, definitely check out Chattanooga Football Club. Yep. It is ChattanoogaFC.com.
Yep.
Look at me. So make sure you check it out, grab some tickets. Both the men's and the women's leagues are going on. And if you are a parent, they do have some academy that you may be able to find information on on the website as well. So, y'all, it's always a joy. I hope that this was a sparkle in your day and put a smile on your face. And in everything that we discussed here can be empowering and encouraging, and I hope that it was for y'all. Y'all, I hope y'all have a fabulous week. I hope that you will choose to be kind, choose to be grateful, and choose to encourage. And we'll see you back next week for another episode of Heather's Most Precious. Bye, y'all.
Heather's Most Precious is brought to you with love by the Hendrickson Agency, an insurance agency serving all of Georgia and Tennessee. The Hendrickson Agency, properly protecting your most precious possessions. Support for Heather's Most Precious is provided by Study.com, which offers SAT and ACT study materials and even has resources for AP and college credit courses. Listeners of Heather's Most Precious get 30% off their first 3 months of any subscription level with offer code PRECIOUS. Just go to Study.com and use offer code PRECIOUS at checkout. Heather's Most Precious is produced by Chattanooga Podcast Studios and is part of the Podnooga Network. Find out more at ChattanoogaPodcastStudios.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back soon with another episode of Heather's Most Precious.